very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all for today's webinar, which is on how to preserve Oracle Forms investment and avoid risky and costly migration and redevelopment activities. My name is Sunil Bhatnagar, and I take care of the Oracle sales for YASH Technologies. I'm accompanied with Saurabh. Saurabh, why don't you quickly introduce yourself to our attendees?
Yeah, sure, Sunil. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Saurabh Mathur. I take care of the Oracle Fusion middleware practice in YASH Technologies globally, and any work that comes across in development of Oracle Fusion middleware plus maintenance and migration. That is something that I handle in YASH here.
Right. Thanks a lot, Saurabh, for that quick intro. Now, getting onto the agenda of this particular webinar, we've kept it more of interesting for both the business as well as the technical users. So from a business perspective, I'm going to talk about the common forms challenges that the customers face, the need for modernization from forms to ADF, the migration steps in the flow, and how do we do that. From a technical viewpoint, Saurabh is going to showcase two of our tools. One, the forms assessment tool, and the forms to ADF migration tool. Now, both these two demos, Saurabh is going to talk about the technical benefits and showcase the live demonstration of both the tools. At the end, obviously, we'll have the question and answer session. But during the flow of presentation, if you guys have any questions, you can actually key it in the question box that you guys see at the right bottom corner of your screen. Right. So before actually delving more into the webinar, I'll let you know a little about what we are, what YASH Technology is, and what is our competence. Now, YASH Technology is a premier Oracle services partner with competencies right from the Oracle application till the technology stack. So our go-to-market plan has always been to try to identify the generic gaps or the holes or the issues that customers have, and try to take care of them through our solutions. And that's why we came up with the forms assessment tool and the forms to ADF migration tool. Now, if you guys are a forms customer, or you see a forms customer and they are on older versions of forms, these are the basic concerns that all the customers have. They have an increased maintenance cost, primarily because of the older platform. The resources are limited. The interoperability between disparate systems isn't there. And more than that, there are both business as well as technical challenges because of the limited features of forms application. When you talk about business challenges, there's high integration cost, and it's really high. There's difficulty in acquisition and mergers. When you talk about technical challenges, there's no rich UI which is available. There are shortcomings in the system architecture, and that's because of the limited features that the application has. A lot of data duplication is there, a lot of data discrepancies are there, lack of testing is there, and it all boils down to a lot of resource time and cost. Now, seeing this particular concern that a lot of customers had, they had the issue of ideally trying to understand how complex their current forms environment is. The customers, if they wanted to do it manually, this was a process that took more than 3 months or maybe more, and a lot of resource time in it. So we try to develop a tool which is called as the Forms Assessment Tool. This tool helps you give a clear picture of your current Oracle Forms environment. And more than that, what it helps the customer do is make an informed decision of what to do next and how to do it with their Oracle Forms environment. So if maintenance is the path to go, if they need to redesign, or if they need to upgrade or migrate their Oracle Forms application. So the end result of the Forms Assessment tool is to correctly let the customers decide what to do next. Now, to dwell more onto the technical benefits and to show you how this product actually works, I'll call upon Saurabh to take the discussion ahead. Saurabh, over to you.
Thanks, Sunil. Right. So, as Sunil rightly said, there are a lot of issues in the customer face in the current Oracle Forms environment, and the Forms Assessment Tool gives you the right platform to understand how to choose the correct path when it comes to maintenance or upgrade or even redesigning the current Oracle Forms application. I'll walk you through the demo of the Oracle's YASH, Oracle's Form Assessment Tool, and show you how different features are being utilized to give you the right information at the right time to take a better decision. Sorry. All right. So this is a web-based tool that we have created, which needs certain inputs for which is the current Oracle's Forms environment detail. So the application name, this is not specific to the Oracle Forms environment. This could be any application name that you need to give, and this is specifically to identify the assessment that the form assessment tool does. So it could be, let's say, test, forms, app. It could be anything. The application directory path, this is the path which contains the Oracle Forms FMBs and the MMBs and all the libraries. So this is the physical location of the drive where your Oracle Forms files are located. So assuming we are on a Windows environment, it could be something like D, Oracle Forms, and maybe the FMBs. And the FMB is the top level folder, and then it will have all the remaining folders within itself. Now, to ensure that we don't waste too much of time, and because the tool might take around 15-20 minutes to process the files, we already have a few of the sample applications that we have processed. And so let's go to one of the application. Once you click on the result, this tool which has already gathered the information, it fetches the entire information and it displays them on the screen right in front of you, where you can actually see what type of forms environment you have, how complex the forms are, how many forms fall into which category. Right. So here we have. So you can see right here that the complexity has been categorized. There are forms which fall into easy category. There are forms which fall into medium category. And you can see the percentage of the forms, right? So there are very easy, and there are complex, and there are very complex forms. So this gives you a very good understanding, a very clear picture on how your entire environment is. So once you plan to do a redesign or a migration, it's easy to take a decision because you have the entire information right in front of you, right on a piece of paper, and you can then decide and choose the right path. This is on the percentage basis, and this gives you the number of forms present in the applications. So out of the number of files that has been processed by the Forms Assessment Tool, 97.8% is the forms count. So 793 forms are present in the application that we have processed. And you can also see that it also gives you the attached libraries and the number of menu files. So it gives you a clear picture how many entire objects has been processed, and out of which how many objects constitute the forms and how many objects constitute the menu files. The next information that it gives you is the total number of components used in the entire forms application. So this might be useful when you actually do a redesigning, so that you can decide upon how many components need to be looked into, and how heavy the form might become if you are doing an upgrade, or how the components have to be redesigned when you are doing a migration. This assessment tool dwells deep into the current Oracle Forms application and gives you detailed information about the number of components used by the form, the number of record group present, canvases, LOVs, within each LOVs, what is the information within each record group, what is present, so on and so forth. So it basically gives you the entire hierarchy about the a single form, and it goes deep inside each and every component. So let's say we go into record group, so you can then see what is the query there. So if you go into record group query, you can see the query. You can actually go and see the mapping columns right here. So it gives you the entire information. You need not go back to your forms application and see how the data is being mapped, which component is fetching which particular record, how the component is actually, what text is being contained within that particular component. It's right there in front of you. It shows you all the information. Similarly, the way it is showing the forms information, it gives you the detail on the menu files. All the menu files are present here. So each of the menu contains further menus, and you can see how many menus are there in each of the main menu. You can go and click the menus. Let's say we move into the finance. So you can see how many menus are there within the finance menu, and then it will show you the details within each menu. So let's say trial balance menu. It will show you there are 2 sub-menus inside it, and you can probably go and check the code within that. So this particular information is very important because it gives you the understanding which form is being called from which menu item. And right here in front of you, if you want to export this information, you want to see, you want to have it in form of a spreadsheet, you can export the entire information to Excel. It will give you the entire information you have on the screen into a spreadsheet, which you can utilize while you are making a report, while you are preparing a new architecture document, or you have to prepare some kind of correlation between the existing environment, how the environment might look once you are doing the 2B architecture designing. I mean, it is pretty handful. It's pretty easy to give you all the information once you have it handy. Now, in the holistic view, we also saw the attached libraries. Those were there, and those were the 7 libraries present in the entire forms environment. So if we go to the attached libraries, we can see there are 7 libraries present here, out of which 2 are unused. So this tool does reverse mapping, checks how many libraries are used by the forms environment, forms application, and how many are there which are lying idle. So this also helps you to ensure that you do away with the unused code, with the unused libraries, and it doesn't have extra burden on the forms environment. Plus, you always have the latest code, and nothing unutilized lies in your code base. You have the object group library here, which tells you this library is utilized by which form and under which module. So you don't have to go back and forth within each module, within each form, and go and check which library is attached where. How do I reference, how do I check the object library where it is being called upon? And it gives you the detail right in front of you without even going into the forms application. The most important part in forms application generally that we come across is the form dependency. That is very tricky to capture. You may have an application from where, let's say, let's take an example of a payroll department. So payroll may have some form that calls upon the finance form where you key in certain percentage if the employee is, maybe the employee has some loss of pay, or the employee has, you need to give some extra bonus to the employee. So this is a typical form chaining or form dependency, which generally is missed out in, once you do a manual assessment, because it becomes a little tricky to go to each and every form, and especially if the environment has more than 600, 700 forms, it takes a lot of time for the manual assessment to get over. So right here in the application, you have the form dependency. You can actually see how many forms are linked to each other. So you can see there are many forms which are linked, but out of this information, I'd like to show you one specific location where you can see the entire tree. Let's go down a bit, and this will give you a very clear picture of how the, and this is just one small tree forms, but then I think we have, So though this is more from the menu part, these forms are being referenced from the menu, but the same is true for any forms which is referenced from within the form. So if you may have maybe form 10 calls form 12, form 12 calls form 24, form 24 calls form 30. That entire information will be shown in the hierarchy. So it becomes very easy to ensure that when you are doing documenting, when you're doing a documentation for migration or redesigning or upgrade, you can actually capture all this information, put it down in a piece of document, so that once the work is beginning, they will ensure that this thing is not broken. Nothing breaks, your environment remains as it is, it works perfectly fine. I mean, we have this way, so communication invoice, so you have a shipment invoice, delivery return, package invoice, I mean, all these things is basically a form chaining. So from one form you have reference to multiple forms. Another important feature is the user exit. You also have the information about how many forms are having user exit and the reference to Java beans. So this gives you a clear picture and an understanding that if at all we have any Java bean that needs to be modified, which is currently being referenced, and if yes, from what class is being referenced and which form is actually calling the Java bean. So once you run this tool, you have the entire information right here. You can leave your forms environment. You may not need to go back to your forms environment. Get it right here. Export the entire information to your Excel. You can export to Excel right here, export all to Excel, and you can begin right away. This also helps you in your estimation because you have the forms component, you have the dependency right in front of you, you have the libraries information in front of you, you have the Java beans information, and you also have the complexity of the entire application broken down with each and every form. So it becomes pretty easy to give an estimation, to decide on the architecture, and move forward. Now, once you have run the tool, once you have the reports from the tool, and you are basically able to understand the complexity because you have the entire complexity broken down within categories, and each form falls into a separate category. So you have the entire piece of information related to the complexity. You have a systematic study of the forms given by the assessment tool, which actually helps you in taking a very informed, highly accurate decision, and it also enables customers to focus how and what path should be best moving forward, whether it is migration, whether it is upgrade, or it is redesigning of the current Oracle Forms application. As I said earlier, it also helps you in estimation and planning because you already have the information handy with you. You already have the entire complexity details with you, and you have the entire picture right in front of you, which you need not go back and forth. So it's merely a flip of a page where you can see what complexity I have and how much time it might take to redesign or redevelop. That helps you in understanding how the current Oracle Forms environment is and how it will help you once you are moving forward in redesigning or doing redevelopment, probably in Oracle Fusion middleware using ADF, SOA suite, or if you are doing an upgrade from your existing Forms environment version to a new version. With this, the form assessment tool demo is over, and I would ask Sunil to talk more on the on the YASH Oracle Forms to ADF conversion tool, which will give you more insight on how the Forms to ADF conversion tool is like and how it helps customers moving forward. Sunil, over to you, please.
Right. Thanks a lot, Saurabh. I think I'm pretty sure the demo was really informative and really useful for all our attendees. Just to add a couple of more things. One, if customers end up doing a manual assessment, that's something which takes more than 3 months. This is one thing which Saurabh didn't touch on. With our tool, the assessment of your forms environment can happen within 1 to 3 weeks. So that's an important thing, you know, saving that much time and cost for the customers. Now, once a customer has a clear understanding, about how complex their forms environment is and what to do next with it, we saw one more gap or one more concern that a lot of customers had, and it was primarily the migration of their forms environment. Let it be really complex. A lot of customers had an inhibition to migrate it to ADF and take the full use of the Fusion apps. Primary reason for that being because the migration time was really, really high. Most of the customers have an understanding that if they do a manual migration, it is going to take a year or more, depending on their forms application, and with that, a lot of money and time. So, keeping that in mind, and the reason that the customers wanted to modernize, we came up with the Forms to ADF migration tool. Now, all the customers wanted to modernize, obviously to reduce the overall cost of ownership, to increase the agility of their business, to lower the risk. Now, all of them had a plan to move to a better solution. The reasons were many. You know, they wanted to take full use of the Fusion app. The formed applications were reaching their natural end of life state. They wanted to be more adaptive to the leading technologies, and that, you know, these were a couple of the reasons why they wanted to make a migrate. But there were two more important things because of which they were not making this change. One was the migration path was really long. They had an understanding that 7 months, 8 months plus is the migration cycle from forms to ADF. And with that much time, it's going to be a lot of cost that's going to be involved. So even if they had a complex environment around forms and they were paying a lot on maintaining it, they were not migrating. Now this is a gap which we understood, and we came up with our Forms to ADF migration tool. Now this particular tool is a cost-effective tool which helps you migrate your Oracle Forms environment to ADF. And in terms of the time it saves for you, it's around 60%. It saves around 60% of the time which you will actually go through via a manual migration process. And with that much, you know, saving of time, it's going to save that much money for you. So to talk a little bit more on the technical end of it and to showcase a demonstration, you know, I'll call again Saurabh to take the discussion ahead. Saurabh?
Yeah. Thanks, Sunil. Right. So as Sunil said, and as we saw the shortcomings when from the customer end when they were able to have an assessment report ready and studied, they were trying to figure out the next steps, and that's where we had the idea and the motivation of creating an automated tool which takes in the input as your Oracle Forms code base, and it migrates it to ADF. To give you more detail on that, this is how the migration flow and steps happen. So in Forms, it generally has a two-tier architecture. Generally the entire UI plus your business logic to a certain extent is there in the Oracle Forms FMBs, and then the data is passed back to the database where if at all there are certain functions, procedures which do some business calculations or any kind of validation, they do it and pass it back to the layer which is the Oracle Forms. In a typical model in ADF compared to Oracle Forms, all the Forms component, whichever are there, like Canvas, any UI component, any LOVs, they are generally migrated to the ADF component. So Canvas, Windows, buttons, text, all those are migrated to ADF components which are present in .jspx file. The ADF, the Oracle Forms LOVs are created in ADF using ADF LOVs, which are created with the help of ADF business components. So you actually get the data dynamically the way you get in forms, but in forms you generally write a query or to fetch the data, which is not in the case of an ADF business components. The menu model that is extensively used in Oracle Forms and in ADF, we have the capability of creating a custom menu. So the menu can be customized as per the requirement or the current implementation scheme that the customer need to have. And the control block obviously goes back to map to the managed bean, and data block is your actual business component in ADF. The data block is where you have your most of your queries, and that is mapped to your business component, which talks about the entities that you have, which are nothing but a replica of your database table. So you have entities, and then entities provide the data to the views. That's how the entire mapping happens, and that's how we broke up all the Oracle Forms component to map them to Oracle ADF. All right, so I'll walk you through a small demo of how things work in F2ADF tool. We call it the F2ADF tool, the Forms to ADF conversion tool. Okay, so let me run the tool. All right, so first thing that it will ask is the database hostname, where it creates a dynamic repository to store the metadata of Oracle Forms. Now, mind it, this is nothing specific to the data. It is only the metadata it needs to store. That is specifically the component name, the type of component, the component layout, all those information. It doesn't need any data to be stored in the database that it has just created. After creating database, it asks for a path to your FMBs, which in my case, I have it right here, FMBs. I have all the files present inside FMBs. So in the case of an FMB, it needs the path of the top level folder. Now, if we have multiple modules inside our Oracle Forms application, which generally is the case, you provide the top level folder path, and from there it goes into each and every folder to analyze the FMB files, and as you can see, it saves the Oracle Forms metadata. It only checks for the components, the component type, the component properties, the component's layout, whether it is readable. I mean, there could be multiple attributes, readable, editable, and all those information is captured. Brilliant. So now it has captured all the information. It is ready to create and generate a new ADF project. So let's say I want to create in D drive. Okay. So once we provide the details where I want the project to be created, I need to name my new ADF application project. So let's say I rate it exam ADF app, exam webinar ADF app, much better. Okay, and once I provide this information, now the FMBs which were analyzed and the application name, these will be used to create my ADF project. But the most important part is my entities which will actually talk to the database and pull the information. So this is where I need the Oracle Forms schema details. Now, this schema details is again only for the metadata. This tool will work on any schema that doesn't contain data. So in most of the cases, the client, the customers do not give us the access to database which has data in it. They provide us only the schema, and that is perfectly fine for the tool, because what it does is it goes and gets the schema details. So localhost, oh sorry, it's asking for the number of DB schemas. So I have 1 DB schema that is used, and in most of the cases you may have more than 1 DB schema that is used in the application. So you provide the host name plus the number of schemas that are being used in the Oracle Forms application. And once you say, let's say you provide 4 schemas, it will going to ask you that many more times the username password for each of the schema. So this information is for the Oracle Forms database right here. So you have the you need to provide the username password for the currently connected schema details. Now, once you have an Oracle Forms application, assuming you have 3 schemas which are being used by the Forms application, but at any given time you may have 1 schema to which your forms connect, or you might want to say, okay, connect to my schema number 3, but I also have 2 more schemas. So you can provide the number of schema 3, and then iteratively you have to provide the username, schema name, and password for all the 3 schemas. So this is what I have for my schema. All right, brilliant. So now what I provided is my Oracle Forms FMB location. I provided the details of my schema, the number of schemas, the database connection details. So if I have a remote database and if the port is open, I can provide the details here. It can go and connect to the database, and I then need to provide the schema name and password so that the application can connect to the schema, get the metadata, and create relevant ADF business components. Now, right now what it is doing is it is creating the business components. It is then creating the ADF UI, which is .jspx pages, with the help of the metadata it captured from the FMB files. Now, this uses 2 sets of information. Set 1 is your Oracle Forms application. Set 2 is your Oracle Forms schema metadata. These 2 information put together helps the tool create the entire ADF project. Once the ADF project is created, it also creates the configuration files. It also creates the files which are required to open the project straight in JDeveloper. So once the project is created, you need not go and make changes to enable it to be opened in JDeveloper, which is the de facto IDE for creating ADF applications. This is a straightforward implementation. The tool creates the project, you open JDeveloper, you go and open your project, and the entire information will be right there in front of you in JDeveloper. You can see the UI pages created, you will be able to see the view objects created, you will be able to see the entity objects created. Oh yeah. So now the ADF project is created. I wish to stop the tool. Okay. So I provided D drive, exam, webinar, ADF app. Okay, it's right here. All right. So let me open this inside my JDeveloper. Okay. All right. So I did not make any change to my application. All I did was the tool created my project. I open it straight away in JDeveloper. Now, the only piece once you open in JDeveloper to see whether you have the entities and view objects ready to view is your database connection. You go to the properties, you enter the password here. Let's say okay, success. You save it, right? And then let's go ahead and see. So you have all your JSPX pages created here, which is your UI. And if you go to the model, you have all your views created here. Now these views, you can see there are a lot of views, right? But if you see the number of entity objects, there's a pretty list. So your views, which is your view objects, are based on multiple view objects, can be based on a single entity object or one or more entity objects. But your view objects are the objects which help you view the data in the UI. So any modification or any update or any information that needs to be pulled from the database, or if it has to be updated to the database, it goes via VO to the entity object back to the database. Okay, let's see if we can. Okay, let's try to run the application module and see how the view objects would look like. All right, so we have them here, right here. So these are all the view objects that are available to me, and I can go and see how the data would look like. So this is, since I have the information there, so it is fetching me the entire detail from the existing schema. Now, if I do not provide the data in the schema, this information would be null. I would still have a full-fledged working ADF project which will tell me how my tables are there, how many view objects have been created, and what is the relationship between multiple view objects and entity objects. I can actually go and check the information right here. Now, it's giving me all the information. So this is basically annual term master detail. So it's showing me the attendance and the percentage based for each and every sprint. You can see the grade, the class, the enrollment number. No, it keeps on changing. So this is straightforward implementation. Now, if I compare it with a manual work, to achieve this much of work, if I have a forms which is of nearly around 20, the forms are around 60. Okay, so this application has around 55-60 forms. To do this much of work to come to this point, it will take nearly 3 months, 2 to 3 months, for a team of, I guess, around 2 to 4 guys. But what we have done is in fairly 10 minutes, I should say. So 10 minutes, your 60% to 65% work is done. Now, all that is remaining is going back to your manage beans and doing any kind of, you have your manage beans here, right here. So if you need to do any, you need to put any kind of business logic in here, you can go and put that. So you have all your default methods created. These methods are bound to your buttons. You can even go and check the values in your JSP. So let's say we go to attendance. You can even see the layout of the components, how the components are structured, how the binding is there. You don't need to go and do the bindings for the components with the value you are fetching in the database. The tool is intelligent enough to do the bindings. It also ensures that the components which are read-only should remain read-only. Components which are editable should remain editable, and it tries to put them in the same place, in the same layout, in the same coordinates where they were earlier in the forms application. So you don't lose on the structure, you don't lose on the layout. So you see we have all the values right here. So let's say I go to the okay, so I go to the property inspector and I see what are the values there. Okay, so I have all the bindings right here. So I don't need to go and do my bindings. I don't need to do any change. This is a read-only component, and I don't need to go and do the read-only. It's already there. Similarly, this is an editable component. I can go and make the changes to it. So this component was editable in Oracle Forms, and it is editable right here. So this gives you an application where you can actually see the result right away instead of waiting 3, 4, 5 months to see the first draft. It gives you right on the spot, and you can actually start working on this. And the entire process takes, from your Renvi tool and getting your application live, it drastically reduces the entire process. It drastically reduces the process, your cost, your risk, everything is reduced drastically. So after running the tool, what we see or the benefits that we gain out of running the tool is productivity, as we said, it reduces the time by close to around 60 to 65%. It reduces risk. It gives you a good amount of confidence. You do not have to do the core basic work of mapping the components, trying to figure out how and what associations are there, which view object has to be created. It's very in front of you. So the productivity is much high because it is saving time, it is saving on estimation, it is saving on risk. So it is more accurate because the entire risk mitigation is being handled by the tool. The tool is built on the latest and modern architecture, which means it follows the guidelines laid down to create an ADF application. And the architecture is highly reusable, it is highly cohesive, and it is very loosely coupled. So you don't have to worry about changing anything in a certain management and affecting the entire forms application or the entire ADF application. It does all that. Now, since the tool has certain guidelines on which it is created, it gives you a similar consistent look and feel. You are not bothered about the naming convention, how somebody would name the method in management A, and somebody would, and a different developer would name the method in management D. You have the same convention followed across. The coding practice is followed, and it's easy for everybody to backtrack, and see how things have been created once they start working on it. Now, when we talk about the reduction, I mean, as we already said, it's around 60 to 65% reduction in time. And when we see the cost, it is close to around 40 to 45% approximately, because it depends on the complexity of the application, the number of forms it has, and how drastically reduces it. So the net saving is huge when we use the automated form conversion tool. So once you use this tool, the satisfaction for the end user is hugely increased. They are highly satisfied because of the rich interface and the functionalities which are provided by the ADF application. So compared to an Oracle Forms application, an ADF application gives you a huge set of functionality. It gives you a high level of abstraction because the components and all the features used are reusable. You can actually use a good amount of libraries which can be utilized across projects or across applications. And the most important is the UI, which informs, is actually a single layer where you have all the UI and your validation or any kind of client code or any business logic in the same layer. Here in ADF, the entire thing is segregated, so it gives you a higher level of independence to go and change anything without even bothering about getting changes or any effect at the business layer, or vice versa. With this, the solution highlights, or which I should say, the key points that come through that come along ADF, F2ADF tool. Sunil, would you please focus and take this the solution highlights and dwell more into it?
Right. Thanks a lot, Saurabh. I think we have a couple of minutes left. So, I'll just wrap it up quickly by saying, both these tools we came up with